Oh, regulation when it's festive periods is just one of those things, isn't it, that we all panic about. We think, how can we regulate anything? Can we regulate visitors? Can we regulate gift exchanging? Can we regulate what other people do? And the answer is probably some and some. We can put in some good strategies to help with the amount of social time that we're going to be exposed to and how we can regulate that. So planning ahead, having a diary, making sure that we're not overfilling that diary, and being very clear with people that actually your home isn't the one where guests and friends and visitors can just drop in. Your home is the one where actually you just need a little bit of forewarning. And that's okay, not being anxious about what other people think and how that might go down with great Auntie Jilly or whoever. And just being kind to yourselves and being determined to make those festive periods as harmonious and as joyous in your family that you possibly can. And that might mean doing things differently. It might mean not having the traditional family meals and the pressures and the expectations that come with that. Or it might mean just adapting the way you do those meals and making sure that all the little things that help your young person to cope with that environment are there in place. I know in one home, their little boy tends to find that using earplugs or headphones at meal times really helpful. And so they just bought a little set of earplugs and asked each of their relatives to just pop it in the cutlery drawer. And the little boy's routine is that he helps set the table and he sees what he calls his munch mufflers. They're in the cutlery drawer and he puts them in to help him to tolerate that meal time. So being consistent and sharing those strategies and taking those things along with you if you are visiting other homes is a really helpful thing to do. So you're taking that structure and you're helping to just create some familiarity. And speaking of familiarity, it's a good idea when we are changing our environment at home, we're putting decorations up and things like that, that we're doing that in a kind of stepped process and that we're making those changes gradually in a way that perhaps your child will be able to tolerate more readily. And thinking about what your child understands and their flexibility of thought and the way in which they interpret things. And if you've got a child that actually finds the exchange of gifts just too intense and too difficult, then maybe thinking, could we just have a kind of family lucky dip opening of gifts or a countdown where everyone opens the gifts at the same time? Or maybe even not wrapping gifts. I know some families that just use a little pillowcase or a sheet over things and don't even wrap gifts. And thinking about what is your child's expectation of that gift. I know a little boy that was so upset at Christmas because his Playmobil castle, when he opened the box, came in lots of plastic bags with zillions of pieces and didn't look like the Playmobil castle advertised on the television. So when we think about our children's rigidity of thought sometimes and literal understanding, then thinking in terms of that festive period and the things that are the elements that flags up in terms of those psychological thought processes. So really tuning in to what we understand and what we know about our children. And I know I attended the Autism Europe conference a few years ago, and they gave me these badges. And at first I thought, well, that's a bit odd. And I felt a little bit awkward. And in 3 languages, one says, I don't want to talk, a red badge. And one says, wait, I'll start the conversation, a yellow badge. And then another one says, I want to talk, a green badge. Now, I know a family that I shared this idea with, and they actually have hung in their kitchen, just on a little bit of ribbon, a very similar thing. So it might be that actually just putting those strategies in place, which might feel a little bit extreme, but actually could be helpful in terms of regulating who wants to interact when and how they're feeling. So thinking, is there anything that you can put in place during the festive period just to make life easier, to make communication easier, and to make it clearer, and to give permission not to talk, to give permission not to join in, if that's where your particular child is at that moment on that day. So abandoning expectations can be really helpful, and giving permission is another thing that might just help get us through that Christmas period with that joy and harmony that I mentioned. And then also thinking in terms of how can we celebrate? So, today's great challenge was, and then writing on that shield, what was our armour? What did we do today that helped us to get through, maybe grandma's visit or whatever, and how that might work. You never know, every family member might be keen to think of what helped them to get through a particular visit or experience during the festive period. So I think the key message here is be kind to yourselves, dump expectations, work within the parameters of your child's profile and their likely responses, which you're already familiar with and you already know. Keep some sameness and be flexible, and take those strategies and support mechanisms, sensory toys, etc. with you when you do go and visit somewhere else, and have a timetable.